Welcome back to Varsity Sports. Now we're joined by the Argus leaders, Terry Vandrovec. Thanks for stopping by, talking a little signing day action.
Yeah.
All right, let's start.
Thanks for having me back.
You bet. We'll talk about preferred walk-ons. I mean, South Dakota State has really used preferred walk-ons in this state to get a lot of good players. Tell us, first of all, what is a preferred walk-on? What's the difference between that and a scholarship athlete? And maybe some of the impact that preferred walk-ons could make.
Yeah, well, the scholarship kids, obviously, they're getting a scholarship, be that a full ride or a partial, because at the FCS level, you are allowed to chop up the 63 scholarships up to 85 ways. The preferred walk-ons are basically kids who are recruited. So it's not like a kid who just decides he wants to walk on and go to a tryout or something and make the practice squad. They are showing interest. At one point, maybe they considered offering a scholarship. Maybe they had other kids at that position that were ahead of them, and they wanted to try and get as many as they could. The other part of it is the preferred walk-ons will report to fall camp immediately when it starts. Other walk-ons may be added once classes begin, usually 2 games into the season or whatever. So they're allowed to be in that initial group, go through everything right away, not have to wait, and so they get a little bit of a jump on the other kids.
So of this group, we've got all walk-ons this year that have decided to play with SDSU. Do you see any of them as being impact players down the road?
I think it's difficult to say, and I'm sort of curious to see, and we'll find out after signing day, what sort of the fan reaction is or isn't in terms of, there were a lot of people when South Dakota State and then later South Dakota went Division I were worried that this was going to happen, that the local kids were going to get sort of pushed out. I think SDSU, though, in recent years has been in the case where they can get some local kids with some ability that maybe aren't being recruited by other Division I schools, and then eventually they become, not only scholarship guys, but all conference types. Recent history on the offensive line, especially Will Castle from Brandon Valley, went on to be an all-conference offensive lineman. Ryan McKnight, who went there, his dad went there, grew up wanting to go there, played at Washington High, was a recruited walk-on, and again, ended up being an all-conference kid and getting in an NFL training camp. So they've had success with it. They're able to sell that to kids, and it's one of those things where they've gotten to a point now where they're ranked often enough, they're in the playoffs often enough that it's sort of unrealistic. You expect them to settle just because someone is local and give them money when maybe they didn't have the credentials or the film or whatever that some out-of-state kids did.
All right, well, we're a high school sports show. The high school name that you might notice on this list is J.J. Hana. Incredible athlete. Where do you see him fitting in down the road?
Well, I think he's one of those kids where he's got a big frame and yet he has good athletic ability. So you go, well, do you want to bulk him up and turn him into something else, or do you play him at receiver? Obviously, the Jacks have had a lot of success with big receivers, including some of their tight ends. And at the same time, he had a nice high school career as a safety. And, you can never have too many guys sort of at the back of your defense. The Jacks have had a couple smaller safeties of late. He's an option where you have some size. So early indications are anything could happen with him. And some of that's going to come naturally. How well does he put on weight or not put on weight, or gain speed or not gain speed? And then what happens to kids, quote unquote, ahead of him, the scholarship kids at those positions? Do they pan out? Do they transfer out? So we'll see if he has an opportunity to earn himself some scholarship money at some point.
Good information as always. Thanks for being with us, Terry. And stay with us. Next segment, Jay Elson comes back and we'll talk to Mick Gary about some future Coyotes.
Varsity Sports Now, presented by Shield.